I'm going to share with you the 6 principles that separate researchers who consistently win major grants from those who struggle to get even the small awards funded. These principles are what I've used for 15 years to be part of the winning team. Most applicants completely ignore them. You have to understand that grant writing success isn't just based on good science. Sure, bad science usually doesn't get funded, but there are really smart researchers out there who can't secure funding to save their careers. The difference isn't intelligence or innovation. No, it's knowing how to present your research in a way that makes funders excited to invest in your vision. I've seen too many talented scientists miss out on life-changing opportunities because they treated grant writing like an academic exercise instead of what it really is, a high-stakes sales pitch for your research future. The researchers who understand this consistently win major awards while others burn out because they are chasing rejections. So today, I'm breaking down the exact framework that turns average proposals into funding magnets. These aren't theoretical concepts, they're battle-tested strategies that work whether you're going after your first small grant or you're competing for a $1 million award. Principle number 1, master the foundation framework before writing a single word. Every successful grant application answers 6 fundamental questions that reviewers use to evaluate proposals. Think of this as the invisible checklist running through every reviewer's mind as they read your work. First, why does this research matter? This is your first significance argument. Why your research matters to the field and to society. You can't just say it's important because you think it is. You need to prove it with evidence, data, and clear connections to real-world problem. Second, what's new and transformative? Innovation isn't about using the latest technology or following trends. Reviewers want to understand what's genuinely new and transformative about your approach. This could be methodology, perspective, or application, but it has to be something that moves the field forward. Third, how will you achieve your goals? Your methodology section must prove that you can actually deliver what you're promising. This isn't describing every technical details. No, it's building confidence that you have a realistic, well thought out plan. Fourth, do you have adequate resources? Your research environment needs to demonstrate that you have everything necessary: lab space, equipment, institutional support, access to participants. Reviewers won't fund dreams, they fund executable plans. Fifth, are the investigators qualified? The team part requires that you show that you and your collaborators are uniquely qualified for this specific project. Not just qualified in general, but qualified for exactly what you're proposing to do. Sixth, what's the return on investment? Your impact narrative must connect project outcomes to quantifiable returns for the funder. They're investing limited resources and they need to know why your project deserves funding over hundreds of other applications. So here's the part that most researchers miss. These are not separate boxes that you check off. They're all interconnected elements that should reinforce each other throughout your entire proposal. When you get this framework right, reviewers can't help but see the value in funding your work. Principle number 2, start your pre-writing phase 3 to 6 months before the deadline. The biggest mistake grant writers make is thinking they can start writing a month before submission. That's like trying to build a house by starting with the roof. Winning proposals require extensive preparation that happens long before you write your first paragraph. You need to study funder priorities and mission alignment. I don't mean skim their website, I mean deeply understand what problems they're trying to solve and how your work fits into their strategic vision. Every funding agency has specific goals and your proposal needs to align with those goals perfectly. Read guidelines deeply. You want to analyze every word because funders include specific language for a reason. If they say transformative, they don't mean incremental improvement. If they emphasize collaboration, they want to see meaningful partnerships, not token co-investigators. Ideally, you contact program officers during this phase to build relationships and clarify expectations. These conversations can tell you if your project aligns with the current priorities of the funder or if there are similar projects that they've already funded. Program officers want to fund successful projects. They're often more helpful than you expect. So assemble your team by identifying collaborators and filling expertise gaps. Often, You will need letters of support, biosketches, and clear role definitions. This takes time to coordinate properly, especially when you're working with busy senior researchers. This pre-writing phase separates serious applicants from those throwing proposals at the wall, just hoping something sticks. Successful grant writers treat this like building the foundation, getting it right, and then everything else becomes easier. Principle number 3, write your specific aims section first and then refine it throughout. Your specific aims section is the make or break component of your entire proposal. Sometimes it's called goals or objectives, but it's always at the heart of your application. This single page determines whether reviewers will be excited to read the rest of your proposal or mentally check out before they're even at page number 2. Start here and refine it through multiple iterations until you're sure that every sentence delivers maximum impact. Your goals should be specific enough that success can be measured, but broad enough to allow you to generate significant findings that advance your field. Think Goldilocks. Not too narrow, not too broad, but just right for the scope and the timeline that you're proposing. Right for multiple audiences because review panels include both field experts and generalists. The expert needs to see technical rigor and innovation, while the generalist needs to understand why this work matters beyond your narrow speciality. Use clear, concise language with sentences of 20 words or less. "We will investigate" sounds confident and direct compared to "this will be investigated." Most importantly, avoid jargon and explain technical terms clearly. If a reviewer has to stop reading to look up a term, you've already lost their attention. I've seen some really smart researchers get rejected because they couldn't explain their work clearly enough for the panel to understand its importance. Don't let those complex ideas become barriers to your funding. Principle number 4, plan for 2 to 4 weeks of intensive review cycles. The review phase is where good proposals become great proposals, or where great science gets rejected because of poor presentation. Get fresh eyes from reviewers who haven't seen your proposal before. They'll catch the assumptions that you're making, the gaps in logic that you've missed, and sections that don't make sense to someone outside your immediate research group or area. You want to include diverse perspectives by recruiting both field experts who can critique your methodology and outsiders who can evaluate your broader impact arguments. The best feedback often comes from researchers in related but different fields. They understand good science but aren't too close to your specific approach. Encourage critical feedback, not just encouragement from your peers. You want reviewers to poke holes in your logic now rather than having actual grant reviewers do it later. Plan for at least 2 to 3 revision cycles because the first round of feedback always reveals issues that you didn't anticipate. If this feels like a lot of work, that's because it is. Hey, remember to make sure that you've hit that subscribe button because we're diving deep into strategies that can form your research career. Every successful grant writer has a network of colleagues who provide honest, constructive criticism during this phase. If you don't have one yet, start building one now. These relationships are investments in your long-term success. Principle number 5. Environment and team sections carry more weight than you think. Many researchers treat the environment and the team parts of the grants as afterthoughts. This is a costly mistake that can sink otherwise strong proposals. Your environment section needs to prove that you have everything necessary to complete the proposed work successfully. This includes lab space, equipment, core facilities, institutional support, and access to research participants or patient populations. This is why senior researchers often have an easier time getting funded. They've already built the infrastructure and relationships that make projects feasible. Reviewers want to see that you've thought through every practical aspect of executing your research plan. The team section requires demonstrating that you and your collaborators are uniquely qualified for this specific project. Don't just list everyone's general qualifications. Explain why each person's expertise is essential for your particular research goals. Include a clear management plan showing how the team will coordinate efforts, share resources, and resolve conflicts. Large collaborative projects need structure, and reviewers want to see evidence of effective leadership. So remember, reviewers fund teams they believe can deliver results, not just good ideas. Your proposal needs to convince them that your specific group of people in your specific environment can execute this specific project successfully. Principle number 6, focus on return on investment throughout your entire proposal. Every funding agency wants to know they're making a smart investment with limited resources. So your job is to make that return on investment crystal clear for them. Your impact section should articulate both immediate outcomes and long-term implications of your work. Explain how your findings will influence clinical practice, inform policy decisions, or advance fundamental understanding in ways that benefit society. Include specific plans for disseminating results through publications, presentations, and community engagement. Reviewers want to know your discoveries won't just sit in a journal somewhere. They'll create ripple effects that justify this investment, but don't limit impact discussions to a single section. Throughout your proposal, help reviewers understand the potential return on their investment. When you're describing methodology, explain how your approach will generate more reliable or generalizable results than alternatives. When presenting preliminary data, highlight the findings that suggest your full study will yield significant discoveries. Every section should reinforce the message that funding your work will advance the agency's mission more effectively than other competing proposals. The truth is, grant writing success doesn't mean that you have the most innovative scientific approach. Success comes from presenting your science in a way that makes funding agencies excited to invest in your vision. These 6 principles I've outlined today provide the framework for creating proposals that consistently win major awards. When you master these strategies, you'll stop competing for scraps and you start securing the funding that transforms research careers. You'll have the resources to pursue ambitious projects, build world-class teams, and make discoveries that'll actually change your field. Most importantly, you'll spend less time writing rejected proposals and more time doing the research that originally inspired you to become a scientist. And if you want to learn how to master the AI literature tool Consensus in under 30 minutes, click here.